Ronaldo, the football legend, and Georgina, the woman who had stood beside him through fame, storms, and rumors. But tonight, she wasn't the flawless icon seen on magazine covers. She was just a woman sitting on the marble floor, staring at her phone, her reflection caught between tears and disbelief. A news notification had shattered her calm. Irina welcomes her first child. It was a headline she wasn't prepared to read. Not because it was unexpected, but because of what it stirred deep within her. For years, Irina's name had been a ghost in their story, something Ronaldo never spoke about, something Georgina pretended didn't matter. But this made it real again. She scrolled through the article, eyes moving mechanically as photos of Irina flashed on the screen. Glowing, smiling, holding the tiny baby in her arms. The comments were merciless. Some fans congratulated Irina, some compared, and others whispered cruel words about Georgina. About her looks, her past, her relationship. Every line, every emoji, felt like a knife carefully pressed into her chest. Ronaldo wasn't home. He was at training, locked in a world of discipline and silence, unaware of the storm brewing in his own house. Their son, little Ronaldo Jr., was upstairs in his room, humming along to his game, blissfully unaware of the noise the adult world was about to create around his name. Georgina's tears fell slowly, silently, like rain slipping down glass. It wasn't jealousy in its rawest form. It was pain, the kind that comes from being misunderstood by millions. The tabloids didn't care that she had built a home, raised his children, stood by him through every scandal and injury. They only cared about the drama, the triangle, the easy headline. She locked her phone, breathing unevenly. Her reflection in the screen showed tired eyes, the kind that had smiled too much for cameras and cried too much in secret. "Why now?" she whispered. "Why does it hurt this much?" A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. It was Junior, standing in the doorway in his pajamas, holding his favorite football. His eyes were sleepy, innocent. "Mom," he said softly, "are you okay?" Georgina quickly wiped her face, forcing a smile. "Of course, baby. Mommy's just tired." But the boy wasn't convinced. He walked closer, setting his football down, and leaned against her. "I saw something on the tablet," he said, hesitating. "People are saying weird things about you, and about Dad, and about someone else." Her heart sank. The world outside had crept into her son's little safe space. The comments, the gossip, the cruel jokes. Children saw more than adults believed. "What did you see?" she asked gently. He shrugged. "Just pictures. A lady with a baby. They said Dad used to know her. Is that true?" Georgina froze. She could feel the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths pressing on her tongue. How could she explain adult heartbreak to a child? How could she turn gossip into something gentle enough for him to understand? "Yes," she finally said, stroking his hair. "A long time ago, before you were born. But that's all in the past." Junior nodded slowly, but his expression remained thoughtful. "Then why are they saying bad things about you? You're the nicest person I know." And in that moment, Georgina broke. Not in front of the cameras, not under the flash of paparazzi lights, but here, in the quiet warmth of her son's embrace. She hugged him tightly, hiding her tears in his hair, whispering, "Don't believe what people say, okay? They don't know us. They don't know our hearts." Outside, the world kept spinning. Hashtags began to trend, gossip channels exploded, and headlines twisted the story into something crueler. Some called her a gold digger. Others mocked her silence. Some even said she was jealous of Irina's happiness. But none of them knew that Georgina's tears weren't born from jealousy. They came from fear. Fear that her son would grow up reading the same lies, hearing the same cruel voices, and doubting his own family as she tucked him into bed that night. She lingered by his side, brushing his hair from his forehead. He had Ronaldo's eyes, full of fire, determination, and innocence. And for the first time, she realized how fragile that innocence was in a world addicted to judgment. When she finally walked out of his room, the night had deepened. She went to the balcony, looking out at the sleeping city. Somewhere, Irina was smiling for the cameras, the baby cradled in her arms. Somewhere, Ronaldo was training under bright floodlights, unaware that the woman he loved was silently fighting battles the world would never see. The phone buzzed again, this time a message from an unknown number. She opened it hesitantly. It was from Irina. Congratulations on surviving another headline. Some of us just got better at making them. The message was like a spark in gasoline. Georgina stared at it, heart pounding. Her hands trembled, not from fear, but from something darker, colder. She locked the phone, swallowed hard, and whispered to herself, "Not this time." The world was watching, and for once, she wouldn't just endure. The morning sunlight spilled through the tall windows of the villa, illuminating every corner, every shadow. Georgina stood at the balcony, coffee in hand, the city below alive with movement, unaware of the storm that had already begun online. Overnight, hashtags had trended, articles had multiplied, and commentary had grown into a roar. Georgina breaks down after Irina's baby news. Ronaldo Jr. caught in family drama. Is Georgina jealous of her rival? The headlines twisted the truth, but Georgina had learned something essential. The world never cared for the real story. It only cared for the spectacle. She took a deep breath, letting the crisp air fill her lungs. Her reflection in the glass was steady now, composed. The tears from the night before had dried, but the lessons remained. She wasn't powerless. She was not defined by gossip or viral headlines. She was defined by her choices, her love for her family, and her ability to rise above the noise. Ronaldo Jr. appeared at her side, holding a small toy car. "Mom," he said softly, "can we go play before everyone calls again?" She smiled, brushing her hair behind her ear. "Of course, baby. Let's go." As they stepped into the courtyard, her phone buzzed relentlessly. A message from her PR team. The stories everywhere. TV channels, online, every social media platform. People are taking sides. She paused. This was it, the moment to decide whether she would shrink behind the headlines or rise above them. And she chose rise. Later that day, a live segment aired on a popular entertainment channel. Clips of her private moments had been stitched together with images of Irina holding her newborn. The host speculated, dramatized, and even insinuated jealousy. But Georgina walked into her interview with calm confidence, every movement precise, every word measured. "I've always believed that love and family are private," she said softly, yet with authority. "What happens in our lives isn't for public judgment. My focus has always been on raising my son and supporting my partner. That is what matters." The camera lingered on her serene expression, the world watching as she transformed a potential scandal into a moment of quiet power. Comments exploded online. "Grace under fire." She didn't even need to argue. Georgina is unstoppable. Meanwhile, Ronaldo, returning from training, stepped into the villa. He found her in the living room, calm, smiling at their son playing quietly on the floor. He sat beside her, pulling her hand into his. "You were amazing today," he whispered. "I saw the interview." She shook her head slightly, still smiling. "It wasn't about me. It was about protecting Junior from all the nonsense. The world can write whatever it wants, but we decide what matters in our home." He squeezed her hand. "And you do it better than anyone I know." That evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, Georgina watched the city lights flicker on. Social media was still alive with speculation, but she no longer feared it. Every headline, every rumor, every viral clip had only reminded her of a truth she had always known. The power to rise above was hers, and hers alone. From the shadows of jealousy, gossip, and past ghosts, Georgina had emerged. Not just unbroken, but stronger. And for the first time, she understood something vital. The world could try to define her, but her heart, her son, and the love she shared with Ronaldo would always write the real story. The night ended not in tears, but in calm strength, the kind of quiet power that no headline could ever diminish. And somewhere in the distance, Irina's world carried on, unaware that the woman she had underestimated had already reclaimed the narrative. Fully, gracefully, and unshakably. New York City. The skyline glimmered like 1,000 jewels, reflecting the ambitions, secrets, and rivalries that moved through its streets. For Georgina, arriving in the city for the prestigious fashion gala felt like stepping onto another battlefield. But unlike previous events, this time the battlefield wasn't just the media. It was the intersection of personal history, public scrutiny, and lingering shadows. Her car rolled up to the towering hotel, cameras already flashing as if anticipating a confrontation before she even stepped out. She was calm, elegant. Every detail of her appearance was deliberate, a message without words. This was her first public appearance since the Irina headlines, and she knew the world was watching, waiting for the slightest sign of weakness. Inside, the lobby buzzed with reporters, stylists, and influencers. Gossip traveled faster than footsteps. Some whispered in excitement, some in anticipation of drama, others in quiet admiration. They all wanted to see the moment when the past would collide with the present. Across the hotel, Irina Shayk arrived. Flawless, composed, her own entourage in tow. The cameras immediately divided their attention, and the tension between the two women could be felt like static in the air. Every glance, every step, every subtle movement was a story in itself. Backstage, assistants whispered and stylists exchanged nervous glances. "They're in the same room," someone said. "They're going to see each other." Georgina prepared herself, adjusting her dress, taking a deep breath and centering her mind. She wasn't here to fight. She was here to shine, to reclaim her narrative, and to show the world that grace under pressure was more powerful than any headline. Meanwhile, Irina felt a familiar rush of adrenaline. She had come to claim the spotlight, to remind the world that she still held relevance and influence. Yet, beneath her practiced smile, a twinge of hesitation lingered. Georgina's presence carried a quiet authority that wasn't easily ignored. The gala began. Cameras flashed. The crowd murmured. And then, as Georgina walked down the grand staircase, the air seemed to shift. She was radiant, composed, and undeniably commanding. The applause was immediate, loud, and genuine. Not the polite kind reserved for celebrities, but a recognition of presence, poise, and the power of quiet confidence. Irina entered shortly after. The contrast was impossible to ignore. One woman radiating calm strength, the other exuding calculated elegance. Photographers didn't know which angle to favor. Reporters whispered furiously into microphones. Fans held their breath. When the two finally crossed paths near the champagne reception, the world seemed to hold its collective breath. They exchanged a glance, measured, intense, and charged with history. Irina's lips curved into a polite, yet slightly forced smile. Georgina returned it, calm, unshaken, her eyes steady. "You're here early?" Irina said softly, just loud enough for cameras to catch. Georgina smiled faintly. "I never miss an important moment," she replied. Her tone wasn't confrontational. It was declarative, a statement of presence, of dignity, of strength. The crowd sensed the tension. Every step, every movement, every gesture was amplified. The world online exploded instantly. Georgina versus Irina. First encounter in NYC. Who will take the spotlight? The tension is unreal. Georgina mingled with guests, her calm demeanor drawing attention. Every journalist, influencer, and attendee noticed her composure, the way she controlled the narrative without uttering a single controversial word. Irina followed her carefully, aware that the subtle exchanges of attention and glances were now public performance as much as personal interaction. She tried to speak with journalists, redirect attention, and reclaim control, but every attempt seemed to draw focus back to Georgina. Later, on the rooftop terrace, the city lights glowing beneath them, the tension reached a silent climax. Social media was alive. Tweets, live streams, posts, and comments all dissecting every glance, every expression, every whisper between the two women. And while the world debated, Georgina stood quietly, watching the skyline. She didn't need to yell, argue, or explain herself. She understood a truth that the public often forgot. Presence, poise, and silent strength were louder than any words could ever be. Irina, on the other side of the terrace, caught herself watching Georgina. Pride, envy, admiration, all mixed in an instant that no camera could fully capture. For the first time, she realized that the rivalry wasn't just about attention, fame, or influence. It was about who could stand firm in the face of scrutiny, who could rise above the chaos, and who could control their own story. By the end of the night, the headlines had already started to form. Georgina shines in NYC gala, Irina in her shadow, celebrity rivalries. Who dominates? Grace versus glamour, a clash of icons. But for Georgina, it wasn't about the headlines. It was about her son, her family, and the quiet power of knowing who she was, no matter what the world chose to say. And in that moment, high above the city that never slept, one truth became clear. The stage wasn't just for the gala. The stage was life itself, and she had already claimed her place. The gala lights dimmed, but the tension in the air remained electric. Flashbulbs popped one last time as Georgina descended the grand staircase. Ronaldo Jr. holding her hand, a symbol of family, resilience, and unshakable calm. Every step she took was proof that grace under pressure was far stronger than any rumor or headline. Irina lingered near the terrace, the city skyline behind her, feeling the weight of a truth she couldn't ignore. Some victories aren't measured in applause or viral posts. They're measured in quiet confidence, in the way you carry yourself when the world is watching, and in the legacy you leave for those you love most. Outside, social media continued to erupt. Hashtags trended, opinions clashed, and fans debated who had truly won the night. Yet Georgina didn't flinch. She didn't need the world to understand her strength. She already knew it. And in that moment, with her son by her side and her dignity intact, she had already won the battle that mattered most. For everyone watching, one thing was undeniable. Georgina Rodriguez had claimed her narrative. Calm, composed, and untouchable. She proved that no amount of gossip, rivalry, or jealousy could shake the bond between a mother, her child, and the love they shared. If you enjoyed this dramatic story, make sure to subscribe to World Sport News, smash the like button, and turn on notifications so you never miss the latest updates, shocking stories, and behind-the-scenes drama from the world of sports and celebrity. The stage is set, the cameras are rolling, and the next story is always just around the corner. Don't miss it.